One thing I would add to that is, there is a St. Croix River Crossing Coalition. So, that coalition has been formed and it's made up of members from both states. And it's really intended to create a mechanism whereby as residents you can have input and encourage moving forward with this federal legislation. Yes.
Sheila, on this question of jobs and business formation, I seem to recall recently some sort of a survey that was done on the climate for starting a new business. And Wisconsin came out very near the bottom in terms of probably a whole bunch of old factors. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, at one of my earlier sessions today, someone was mentioning some study, and I don't even recall which one it was, that was really low. I'm familiar with the Chief Executive magazine that increased our rank from about 41st to 24th.
Yeah.
And so that bumped us up, but you can probably find different.
I'm just curious the criteria that they might have used.
Well, they usually, I'm not sure specifically which one you're talking about, but generally they take a look at the tax structure, regulatory situation. I'm not sure if they take into account the availability of the workforce, educational opportunities, but I know they take into account the tax structure and the regulatory environment.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel that the legislature is going to move toward a more favorable situation so that maybe we can become number one?
We are definitely working. That's our goal. Obviously, the makeup of the legislature can change every 2 years, but I can tell you that the current legislature is very interested. And one of the things that's important is for those of you who are in business to let us know if you have experiences, probably both good and bad. If you have an experience where you have found government not to be responsive, and let me say, it doesn't mean that government's always going to give a yes answer. That's not what this is about. But when we have businesses coming in saying they apply for a permit and they don't get a response for 12 months or 18 months or 2 years, that's not acceptable. And it doesn't mean always getting the yes answer, but it means getting a timely response, because when you're in business, time is money. And I've had, this was a few years ago, I had some folks come into my office and they said, we wanted to locate our business in Wisconsin, but, we didn't know how long it would take before we got an answer, and they went to another state and they had the response in 3 months. And so that's the pressure. And, it is a competitive world out there, and businesses aren't afraid to look at where they're best off doing business.
Sure.
So it's a constant challenge, and we're trying to move toward, and it's one of the reasons we also created a separate entity that focuses on job creation in the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, transferring the Department of Commerce into the WEDC, so that their focus is entirely on creating an environment for job creation. So.
Yeah, one of the big issues is sales tax, estate sales tax. I remember years ago when we bought a new machine, it was $70,000. Well, the first thing we had to do was pay the state 6.5%. So it really increases the investment, or not the return on that, I think, but where are you going to get the money? You buy a new machine to get more productivity. But it's very important that also that you can write it off faster. I know in Sweden you can write off a machine in a year, the year that you buy it.
And the question is, are you typically making enough money to need that write-off in the first year?
Well, it depends on what kind of contract you're getting. Sometimes you get a big contract, and then you can do it. And also, like computers and so forth, well, they're obsolete after a year and a half, and you have to write it off forever, it seems like. I can't remember whether it's 5 years or something. I don't really know. I haven't been in business in Wisconsin, but in Minnesota.
Are you in business in Minnesota?
It was, yeah.
And sometimes, obviously given our proximity to Minnesota, we do sometimes have, it's not uncommon for people to have experiences in one state, in both states. And again, if you see things that are being done in another state, do we need more chairs back here? Do you guys, we can get more chairs. If there's experiences that you see in other states, things that other states are doing better, sometimes it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about learning how other people do it. There you go. Do we need more? There's more up here. Other questions, comments? Yes.
My question is about the EIG, Early Innovator Grant. Okay, I was at a meeting Monday and they talked about the state of Wisconsin received money from the federal government in order to help implement Obamacare in our state. And you're looking at me funny like you don't know what.
No, I'm listening.
You know what I mean, okay. Because I don't know that much about it either, but apparently we have received some money to help implement Obamacare, and some of the people are thinking that it should be immediately sent right back. And I think they said that you and Governor Walker are not sending it right back. You're for holding it for whatever reason.
I haven't taken a position on it.
You don't have a position on it?
I have not taken a position on it.
Oh, okay. So does Walker have a position on it?
I would have to check. I'm not here to speak for the governor,
Okay.
but I can check. Write that down and I'll check on it for you.
Sure.
I mean, there's the issue of the exchanges, which have to be, if the states don't have it in place, under current federal law, if the states don't have it in place by January of 2014, the federal government will come in and implement the exchanges. So there's been some recognition of, given the uncertainty of, there's some that want to change the federal law. And so we feel like, obviously, I think that there's time yet before we go that route.
Okay. Just, to wait and see what's going to happen more than instead of just sending it back without even using it.
But if you make that note on your
Yeah,
list, I'd be happy to
sure.
get your latest information.